Electricity Minister Dr. Kgosientsho Ramokgopa has announced that South Africa will be getting 100 megawatts of electricity supply from our neighbours, Mozambique. He held a meeting with his Mozambican counterpart at the Union buildings earlier to procure additional power for South Africa amid a crippling energy crisis. Ramokgopa says an additional 600 megawatts will be supplied by Mozambique in 6 months.
And of course, in the conversation today, they were able to confirm to us that the 100 megawatts is immediately available to us. And of course, in the 6 months' time, we could have an additional 600 megawatts. And then there are issues, just to your questions, that requires attention. Of course, the two of us are familiar with what those issues are. And of course, Eskom and its Mozambique equivalent EDM will sit and engage on those issues. But what is important for us is that as we resolve all of the above, it's important that we are able to get additional megawatts onto the grid. And we are very grateful to Minister Zacarias and the people of Mozambique, strengthening the fraternal relationships. We are pressuring solidarity, and I think we are able to illustrate that that can manifest in many ways. And of course, the energy situation is the most immediate issue that requires attention, and we are very grateful that they will be able to get this additional 100 megawatts with the prospect of 600 megawatts in 6 months, and of course an additional 1,000 or so in the long term.
Well, as South Africa procures additional power, let's get you additional information. Newzroom Afrika's Ziyanda Ngcobo was at the Union buildings, and she was following the briefing by the two ministers of South Africa and Mozambique. And so, Ziyanda, as we procure additional energy, a lot of people just don't know what to do with themselves because, oh my, we've got so much electricity. What did we hear from the electricity minister on why we have electricity? What a question.
What a question. And it's not unfair to South Africans for them to be skeptical of why all of a sudden are we seeing so much happening. But the energy minister basically explaining that they are basically continuing with their long-standing relationship with Mozambique. So as you've already mentioned, 100 megawatts, but also highlighting and emphasizing what Eskom board chair Paul Makwana has said about this sudden burst of electricity where we can actually have a weekend with power, basically attributing it to the changes in leadership at the power utility. So let's listen to what Ramokgopa said earlier.
The chair is absolutely correct. I mean, the fact that we have someone of the experience and knowledge of in the form of Mr. Begin Rumalo, it's significant. Someone with immeasurable experience at Eskom. Of course, he was in one unit of Eskom. Was brought into the generation side, and then he has also managed to place other station managers with an incredible amount of experience, and we are beginning to reap the reward. Our collaboration also with the private sector to embed the kind of expertise that is required in the areas of technical difficulties that are experienced in the various power stations. Again, it has been able to help us to address the situation. And yes, I mean, the resolution of issues of powers embolden us to be able to take the kind of initiatives that we are taking. Yes, this thing is not an act of God. There's no accident in what is happening. It's deliberate exercise. When we are going to the power stations, people are saying, these people are tourists. No, you want to understand the operations of the system so that when you make an intervention, you know the kind of technical expertise that is required to go and help those power stations.
So these deliberate exercises and these deliberate collaborations can only bear fruit because Mozambique naturally rich in gas.
Rich in gas, rich in hydrogen as well. And one of the things that we heard from the Mineral Resources Minister as well is that they're going to be starting a new project, and they've called on members of the SADC region to participate. It's set to produce about 450 megawatts in one of their provinces in Mozambique. And I mean, we've been having a relationship with Mozambique in terms of them supplying us with power for about 30 years. And so let's listen to what then Carlos Zacarias had to say earlier.
We have a very big hydropower potential in the country, and some of the energy that we supply today to South Africa comes from Cabarabasa from more than 30 years. and we have new projects that are being developed that we believe, and we have invited the government of South Africa and different actors and entities from South Africa to participate, which is in Pandankua, and we have discussed the ways how to increment the cooperation and participation of both countries in that project. We also have other sources of energy in Mozambique, and as you know, Mozambique holds very big reserves of gas resources. We have projects that supply electricity to the country based on gas, and we are developing now a 450 megawatt thermal station in Temane.
And of course, Ziyanda, money, 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 money. Where is it all going to be coming from?
So the minister would not be drawn on how much all these projects are going to cost, because clearly 100 megawatts is the short term and the immediate response. Then there's the medium to long term, the 600 megawatts in the next 6 months, and then another 1,000 megawatts. But what we also know is that the Mozambican power utility, their version of Eskom EDM also, there was a report last year in November already that Eskom was trying to get back R1 billion from Mozambique. So both ministers not really being drawn on whether or not we're getting this electricity for free or how much is it going to cost. And the minister basically saying to me, well, you don't resolve the issue of load shedding, there's going to be questions about why you aren't doing it. You resolve the issue of load shedding and, there's questions about how much money is spent. So because of the job losses, of course, and the economic growth, stagnation that comes with not having electricity. So we don't know just how much it costs, but he has made an undertaking that he will share, those figures once they are calculated, I guess.
Because every time we hear from the electricity minister, it's always about transparency and taking South Africans into his confidence. So thank you very much, Ziyanda Ngcobo, for that report.